How can one start practicing witchcraft as a beginner?
As a beginner, start with your shadow work. Start with getting right with yourself, your internal process, and bringing your thoughts, your actions, and your words into alignment. So right thinking, right speech, and right behavior. Bring those into alignment, and then start cultivating a conscious connection with the universe.
You said you are an earth-based witch. Are there different kinds of witches?
Yep. There are some witches who only deal with like astrology and the stars. For me, it's all interconnected. There are witches who primarily do a lot of kitchen magic. Oh, that reminds me back to what you said, asked me about how to craft a spell. Cooking can be a spell. So if you are creating a pot of soup to feed your family or your community, and you certain herbs, using certain herbs that all have intention and correspondence, you're creating a spell with those herbs.
Zia Tipton is a gifted diviner and witchcraft expert specializing in evidence-based mediumship, astrology, human design, and Reiki. She weaves spiritual insight and energy work to help others find clarity, healing, and transformation. If you are an author ready to self-publish or share your voice with the world, visit blazegoldburst.com, your portal to publishing, visibility, and global impact. Also, support this movement by diving into Lord's Ordinary Children by Gita Shripani and Reversed Order Existence by Blaze Goldburst.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What is witchcraft?
For me, witchcraft is a conscious connection with the universe. It's the use of earth magic with your own personal magic.
So, the audience would like to know more about your background.
Well, I'm an evidence-based medium. I'm a tarot reader, I'm an astrologer, and a human design analyst. I also do pet mediumship and Reiki services.
So, how does witchcraft differ from Wicca?
Well, Wicca is a religion that was started by white men in England in the 1950s. So it's full of dogma, rules, hierarchy. Witchcraft is earth-based. There are no rules. There's no dogma. It is you and your connection with the universe or the planet.
Can you explain in more details? Because the audience will be new and they won't be able to understand the concept about witchcraft in detail. According to you, according to your experience.
So according to my experience, it is creating a conscious contact, conscious connection between yourself and the universe at large. Connecting your higher self, your higher consciousness with the consciousness of the universe, so that the larger fabric of reality, and being able to manipulate energy in that direction, like by using that energy.
So, what are common misconceptions about witchcraft?
That it's evil, that we're all dancing under the moonlight naked and summoning demons. No. Most witches are not doing things to harm others. We are doing things to promote peace. Witches walk among everybody. They're in every walk of life. They're your nurses, your veterinary techs, your caregivers. So witches are everywhere. We are mostly peaceful people who just want to help and guide people through, this weird thing called humanity and life.
So, do you think it is a spiritual gift?
I think that it's something that's accessible to everyone, everywhere, and that you only need to work on your own shadow work, getting to the root of the things that are like your protector parts. Everybody has protector parts inside of them. So everybody has access to witchcraft.
So, how did you learn witchcraft? What was your journey?
What was my journey? Okay, so I've always had a really strong connection with nature, and as a child I used to spend a lot of time outside in nature, watching the clouds, paying attention to the birds, talking to the trees. And I learned very early on in my life that if you listen to animals, to birds, to the planet itself, it talks back to you. So for me, it's about having a conscious connection and a conversation with the world around me.
Did you read a lot of books about it? Or did you have a guru?
No, I didn't actually start reading about it until I got older. So part of my journey also was heavily dependent on learning divination practices like tarot. I learned tarot from a Romani woman when I was about 13 years old. But I didn't actually start reading books about witchcraft until like midlife. And at that point, it was just to enhance the knowledge I already amassed on my own. I really see witchcraft as being a solitary journey.
I see symbols behind you. Can you tell me what it means?
So this is an astrological wheel. This is for doing astrology, which is something else that I do. All the different glyphs represent the 12 signs of the zodiac, and the sections are the houses of the zodiac. Vedic uses a different system for the zodiac. So this is tropical astrology, not Vedic astrology.
So, what is a spell?
A spell is your intentions. Most people are walking around casting spells every day and they don't even realize they're doing it. Like somebody cuts you off in traffic and you think mean things about them, you're casting a spell at them. You're casting black magic or hexing them with your thoughts. Because the universe is so interconnected and everything is part of the same fabric of reality, you're casting a spell with your words and with your thoughts. By saying something mean about the neighbor who's too loud or you don't like, that's also a spell. There's other intentional ways to create a spell, like through herbs, candles, but your thoughts are spells. Your words are spells.
So, what is black magic and what is white magic, according to you?
According to me, white magic is when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are in alignment and you are in a flow state. You can bring in the things that will benefit you without, I like to say, like in an equitable way. So when we're not taking too much from one thing to only give to ourselves. This is like equity. Black magic is what I described a few moments ago, when you're thinking harmful things about another person because something about them disturbs you on some level.
So, do you consider Reiki to be white magic?
Reiki, yes. Well, it's universal life force. So yes, it is. Absolutely. And that's something else that I do. I'm a Reiki practitioner.
How do you cast a spell safely?
By starting with your shadow work, by making sure that you have done all of the internal, like psychological work already. I don't believe that you need to cast a circle. I know that's something very popular in media and culture, that you have to cast a circle and you have to have a very specific set of tools. I don't believe that at all. I'm very much an earth-based witch. I'm very nature-based. So when I'm out hiking or on a walk, I will see things on the ground and I'll pick them up and I'll bring them home with me for use later. So I use a lot of nature-based tools, things that I find in the ground, bones, plants, seeds, bugs, dead bugs, not live. There's so many ways, different ways to cast a spell, and it really depends on the practitioner. If you're looking for a rule book, there really isn't one. And that's the whole point of witchcraft versus Wicca, is that there's no rule book.
You said you are an earth-based witch. Are there different kinds of witches?
Yep. There are some witches who only deal with like astrology and the stars. For me, it's all interconnected. So there are witches who primarily do a lot of kitchen magic. Oh, that reminds me, back to what you said, asked me about how to craft a spell. Cooking can be a spell. So if you are creating a pot of soup to feed your family or your community, and you certain herbs, using certain herbs that all have intention and correspondence, you're creating a spell with those herbs.
Can you tell me about a spell or ritual to make our podcast a success, so that when people will watch our podcast, they get mesmerized and they wish to?
First of all, I would use the Mercury hour. Mercury is the planet that rules communication as well as commerce. So Wednesday is the day devoted to Mercury. So I would do the editing and publishing on a Wednesday, but I would specifically publish during the Mercury hour. So you would have to look at the correspondence table for that. I can get back to you and tell you what the time is. But I would use the planetary alignments for that. Green, surround your workstation with the color green to draw in abundance and money. If you like drinking tea and you have access to herbs, I would suggest a tea made with basil and fennel, both. It probably won't taste great, but it'll work. Oh, mint, put mint in it. Mint, basil, and fennel. And really focus the intention. It's all about, really focus your intention.
What are common tools used in witchcraft?
Divination, for one. Divination would be using cards, astrology. There's literally hundreds of different forms of divination. Bones. We use bones for divination. So we use divination tools, herbs, plants, crystals. I don't know it here. I have a crystal. Crystals to harness and direct energy. Some people use something called an athame, like a sacred blade to pull down energy and direct. I do not do that. That is more along ceremonial magician lines. And I'm not a ceremonial magician.
Can you tell me more about your psychic gifts?
Oh, okay. I have a hearing gift, so I hear things. I have a sight gift, so I can actually see things, like I get visual images. I have prophetic dreams. I'm a nonverbal communicator or a medium, which means I can communicate with plants, animals, people who have passed on who are no longer, physically inhabiting a body. The way my mediumship works is, or the way I experience, the way I feel like it works is I think of the world at large, after we're no longer in physical form, as being like cosmic soup, and all the souls go into this one cosmic soup pot. So me as a medium, I'm just fishing around in the cosmic soup pot for that one specific ingredient.
So can you tell me the role of tarot cards in witchcraft?
Well, it's important to, if you're going to cast a spell, it's really important to do divination ahead of time so that you can get a good idea of what the outcome is going to be. If things are going to go in your favor, if you're missing any steps, if there's information that you're lacking, really it's advised heavily to do tarot before casting any kind of spell or setting out in a new direction. Tarot is a tool of divination, and like all divination, it is meant to connect you with your higher self, as well as help you to see the future in a certain regard.
Have you ever connected with your higher self?
Yes, I actually had a third eye Kundalini awakening 5 years ago.
And what message did you get?
Nothing good. I can tell you what I saw, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, what I saw was all the global shifts that are happening right now with far-right governments taking control. I saw a lot of fascism. I saw major climate change coming to be a problem. A lot of war. I saw a lot of bad things. And
What guidance did you get about your life from your higher self?
The guidance I got about my life was that I was going to go on a completely different path. I was going to leave my ex-husband, which I did, and leave this country and go and do my own thing, exactly what I'm doing now, being a practicing witch and providing my services to the general public.
Do you meditate?
I meditate daily. When I'm meditating, I'm usually connecting with events that are happening around the world.
Do you also astral travel?
Yes. That was a skill I taught myself when I was about 12 years old.
So have you also seen your past life?
That's interesting. Yes and no. I don't believe that time exists that way. Time is not linear. It's all kind of tangled up together, and there are parallel universes all happening simultaneously. So yes, I accessed all of my parallel lives and parallel selves. But I don't believe past, present, future. I believe that it's now. Everything is now. It's all happening at once. And that is through something I've determined by my astral travels as well as my third eye awakening.
So do you consider your third eye as completely opened?
No, not completely open. I would say like half, which is already very overwhelming. I think that when the third eye is completely open, that's when we see people who are completely have fallen into madness, like persistent schizophrenic delusions, things like that. It's very hard to stay grounded in reality when you've got all this going on.
How does it feel when your third eye opens?
Terrifying, because I saw across space and time in all directions, past, present, future, multiple realities all at once. So it was terrifying. And then I had to go through an integration process where I had to integrate those memories and those other versions of myself into my present day reality. And there was a lot of periods of time where I was really struggling with staying grounded and present now, because in here, in my head, in my mind, in my third eye, I was off living all these different lives at the same time. So having a third eye awakening is not something I think that everybody should be striving for, because it can literally lead you to madness.
So, for a beginner, how can they open their third eye if they know nothing about it?
Well, definitely don't use drugs. Don't use drugs to facilitate the process. I believe it's much like starting on a journey of witchcraft. It's all about shadow work and cleaning out your own psyche and getting yourself right with you, making peace with your past, making peace with your choices. Rigorous meditation, having a clean body, like internally clean, so not polluting your body with chemicals, with bad food, with prescriptions or drugs. I also don't recommend that people do it. I think that it's very harmful and has the potential to be very dangerous.
What is shadow work?
Shadow work is so Carl Jung was a psychologist, very famous psychologist, and he coined the term both synchronicity and shadow work. The shadow work talks about the different parts of yourself. So all of us, each individual human has protector parts. We have warrior parts. We have caregiver parts. We have our psyches very, very complicated. So when you're talking about shadow work, you're talking about looking at the darker aspects of your life, darker aspects of your psyche, the protector parts specifically, and how they come out. So say you have anger issues, say you're very easy to react and easy to provoke and fly off the handle. Shadow work will help you understand where that comes from and how to use it for good. The goal is not to get rid of those protector parts and get rid of the parts of your psyche that want to lash out at others. The goal is to integrate them and give them a place of understanding so that they can act in alignment with the rest of you.
You said you are an astrologer. Do you specialize in tropical astrology or Vedic astrology?
Tropical astrology, I have done some training in Vedic, but I don't have a lot of call to use it with clients here where I live, so I mostly focus on tropical astrology.
So, my next question is, what is the significance of the moon in witchcraft?
The moon controls water on this planet, right? It controls the tides. Human beings are 72% water, so we are also affected by the moon. Farmers have used phases of the moon for eons to plant their crops. They plant and they harvest depending on what phase the moon is in, because the moon has a direct correlation with how things are growing. If you plant on certain moon phases, seeds will sprout better. If you harvest on certain, it's just anyway. So witchcraft is much the same as harnessing that energy of the moon. On a full moon, you want to use it to close out cycles and complete things. Quarter moon, whether it's waxing or waning, that's a good time for problem solving. New moon is when you want to start. New moon meaning when it's dark. Start new projects on a new moon, close things out on a full moon, do your problem solving on a waxing or waning quarter moon.
How can one start practicing witchcraft as a beginner?
As a beginner, start with your shadow work. Start with getting right with yourself, your internal process, and bringing your thoughts, your actions, and your words into alignment. So right thinking, right speech, and right behavior. Bring those into alignment, and then start cultivating a conscious connection with the universe.
So, according to you, what is the role of karma? From your personal experiences, you can share.
I believe karma is like a universal bank account, and it's not just about what goes around comes around. In fact, I really dislike that notion of karma, that if you do something bad, you're going to immediately get hit with bad results. I believe it's the sum of all of your actions, but not just your actions, your thoughts, and your words too, across all universes, across all lifetimes. My experience with karma is I don't really believe in it the way everybody else does, so I don't have a lot of experience with it.
Have you ever been haunted by spirits?
Haunted, no. Bothered, yes.
Can you tell more about it?
Where I used to live, there was a lot of spirit activity, and it was just annoying to have things in my space that I did not invite. So I really got into warding at that point in time and learning how to keep things away from me.
So, what is your opinion about Ouija board?
So it's just another tool. It's just another tool. A spirit board or a Ouija board is another tool to connect with spirit or your higher self. I have one. I use it like with bones, or I use it with flower petals or herbs, and I throw the herbs down or the bones down on the board and I look at the patterns. I don't use it to move a planchette around. I know a lot of people do. I do not.
Are there any dangers to using it? Or is it safe? Because most of the time I have seen people denying that People saying that you should not buy it. It's not safe. You will invite spirits into your home and they will wreak havoc.
Yeah, I don't, again, that feels very much like Harry Potter magic to me, and that is not what I do. I'm very grounded in reality, and I do, yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I think it's perfectly safe. I've actually had clients who wanted to go down that route and they didn't have the funds for it, so I told them how to make one on their own. You can just make it with a piece of paper and a pen. I don't think it's unsafe at all.
So, witchcraft practices should be done during the daytime or nighttime.
Anytime. I had said something a while back about planetary days and hours and how every day of the week corresponds with a different planet. So I would suggest using the planetary days and hours for maximum input, maximum impact. And when you're a witch, everything you do is done with intention. So you're practicing witchcraft all the time. The act of making coffee is, witchcraft. I'm making a magical brew and I'm drinking it, and I'm drinking it with intention. Witchcraft. Any time of day.
What are the ethical guidelines in witchcraft?
That's a personal thing that everyone needs to decide for themselves. Wicca, which I said is a religion, is more where you come into ethical guidelines. They have a threefold law, do no harm. I don't believe that. I believe that sometimes you need to kick someone's ass and harm needs to be done, especially if it's to protect your own self or protect your space. My personal ethics are leave things better than you found them. That's one of my big ethical guidelines, and to never take more than I need. So if I'm doing spells to bring in abundance or prosperity, I'm only looking for what I need, not for excess. But those are personal ethics. Another personal ethic of mine is to not intentionally or unintentionally cause harm, which kind of leans more towards the Wiccan read. But for me, it's because if I wouldn't want somebody to do that to me, why am I doing it to them?
I have a question. Okay. How are potions created? Do they have any rules?
Harry Potter magic. Anything can be a potion. Whether you're making a pot of soup, whether you're brewing a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, there are no rules. So one thing for potions, though, I used to make jams and jellies, but I would do this, I'd plan it out. So I would use the moon cycles and charge big jars of moon water with a crystal inside, put the crystal in a separate container because you don't want to put water on crystals. You'll leach chemicals into your water. So I would charge moon water and I would use that to make my jams and jellies. So that's a way to make a potion, is by using moon water. You could use rainwater, snow melt, storm water. All of those different forms of water have different energy attached to them, so it will impact what you're doing with it.
So anything can become a potion.
Anything
It doesn't
can become.
need to be specific. Like some people say, buy this candle and light it, and then you'll manifest it.
Yeah, no, your best tools are you, your physical body, and your connection with God or your connection with spirit and the universe. Those are your best tools. I do not believe in telling people to go purchase new tools or special items, or that you can only obtain your goals if you have just this specific candle and this type of oil. I don't believe that at all.
So according to you, are they real or not? Burn this candle and you will get this abundance.
Not true. Not true. It's not true at all. For me, the best witchcraft is done in the kitchen, where you are infusing the food that you are consuming using magical ingredients. All herbs have magical correspondences. So I believe in kitchen magic and cooking and crafting teas and drinking teas. I don't think that anybody needs to buy special tools. Also, that's a very capitalistic mindset, and witchcraft is very much anti-capitalism. So if somebody can't access certain tools, they're screwed. They can't. Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
What about symbols?
Symbols are great. I love symbols. I use symbols all the time, like crafting a sigil. Sigils are a really good way. You can put them on your body. You can put them on your property. You can just draw them in the air. We use not sigils, but we use symbols in Reiki. So I was just given new symbols yesterday when I did my second Reiki attunement. The glyphs. Symbols are very good. I highly recommend using sigil magic. And that's another thing that you don't need tools for. You need a piece of paper and a pen and an understanding of how sigils work. Witchcraft should not require you to go out and spend money.
So people don't need to buy things.
Absolutely not.
How do you create a sacred space for rituals?
I prefer to think of myself as my own sacred space. I keep my body clean, both inside and out. So I am my own sacred space and I don't have to worry about what's going on around me. Also, I prefer to do most of my rituals outside. So the outside is already sacred because it was created by the universe, by spirit. I think we touched on this at the very beginning when you're like, how do you cast? And like, do you need, and I said, no, you don't need to do a circle or anything like that. Bless the area with prayer, or it can be a prayer of your choosing. You can get it from, whatever text you like. This is going to sound weird, but I often use the Bible, specifically the book of Psalms, for prayer, because the book of Psalms is nothing but spells. So I do use the Bible for spells and casting. I think that we are our own sacred space and that we don't have to do anything special. If you want to practice Hollywood witchcraft and make a circle of salt, do that. Because that's your choice and your craft. But for me, my sacred space is in nature, barefoot, under a tree.
Do spells work always according to you?
No, not always. I think it depends on the practitioner and it depends on how specific you're being. So a big part of spell work is that you need to be extremely specific. So you need to make sure that you're crystal clear with your intentions. And it's the same like when you're asking the universe for a sign or confirmation, you need to be very specific. Don't just say, hey God, hey Spirit, I need a sign right now. Like, give me a sign. You need to say, I need a sign because I want to know the answer to this. If it is yes, make my sign a purple alligator. If it's no, show me a blue elephant. Like, make it oddly specific. And then watch what happens and watch the universe respond in kind. I think that spells fail when we are not being specific or clear with either our intentions or our request.
So I have a curiosity. Witchcraft in the graveyard. What is your opinion about it? Witchcraft when done in a graveyard. Because I have seen many people doing it online.
I think it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful unless you have a prior relationship with the graves of the people that are there. It's disrespectful. Also, as a medium, I can tell you that most dead people are not hanging out in cemeteries. The attachment to the physical body leaves at the moment of death. The physical body is something that, like, this is how we individuate as humans, and the rest of the time we're in this cosmic soup. Dead people don't want to be hanging around their dead bodies. That's weird. Most of them aren't there. Doing witchcraft in the cemetery is disrespectful, unless it is your ancestors' graves, in which case you can ask your ancestor for permission to take some of the dirt and use the dirt for to have the help of the spirits to assist you in your spell. That's something else. You had asked me about tools earlier, and I forgot to mention dirt. I use dirt a lot in my spell work because I'm very earth-based, but I don't use graveyard dirt. I use dirt from places that I've traveled to, places that are sacred or important to me. I'm always collecting. I have jars of dirt everywhere. There's so much. Hollywood and current social media have really cast witchcraft in a very weird, harmful, negative light. We are peaceful, earth-based people. The nurses, we are the pharmacists, the people who care for your animals, teachers. It's not dark or scary, and most of us are really just gentle people who just want to make the world a better place.
So can witchcraft be done in astral travel?
I'm sure it could, but that's not something that I've ever attempted to do. Most of my astral traveling has just been like going on vacation. I just want to see things and experience and learn. So I'm not interested or invested in creating something while I'm there. I just want to experience.
So can you protect yourself if someone is doing some kind of spell on you?
I really believe heavily in warding magic, creating wards. And I like to make my wards spicy so that the person knows, don't do that again. Wards are a combination of creating something in the astral realm, like the astral space. Okay, I'm putting this barrier of protection around me, and then there's a physical manifestation of it that you would do here. I don't have an actual ward I can show you in my office right now. I was just looking around to see if I had anything. But for instance, if I want to protect my property, I would go around to all the plants around my property, the trees, whatever's growing there, and I would find the ones that represent protection. And if there is nothing, then I would ask the ones that are there what if I could have permission and wait for an answer. And if they say yes, okay, then I'm going to use that for a ward. So basically putting magic over, the way I do it is magic over certain plants. I also use some spicy ingredients like dead flies, hot chili peppers, a little crushed up mirror to reflect their stuff back onto them. But everything grounds into like a fine powder.
Do you get a lot of dreams?
Yes and no. I do if I don't do a ward before I go to bed, but I've set up my bedroom and my space so that I have a grounding table right next to my bed that grounds my energy. And I have it set up with crystals and a grid that also ground my energy because I don't like to dream. I wake up in the morning and I just feel like trash after dreaming all night. I don't feel rested. So I have my bed warded and my space in my bedroom warded so that it doesn't bother me at night. I'm not afflicted with dreams anymore. When I don't do that, it's like I never slept. It's like I'm just tripping through the astral realm all night, having dreams, going different places, having all these, conversations and things. And no, thank you. I like to sleep.
I would like to know more about how black magic works. What kind of witches do it?
I believe people who are angry and do not like themselves are the ones who are casting purposely onto other people because they have a lot of hatred in their heart. So that is what they put out. But I think I tried to tell you this at the beginning is that somebody cuts you off in traffic and you're mad and you have road rage and you're directing negative energy at them. That is a form of black magic. That is a form of evil eye and hexing. So everybody does it.
Is there any kind of antidote if somebody gives something to you? Like you want to cleanse yourself from any negativity?
Just prayer. Prayer works. Prayer does a lot. Using Reiki energy to help cleanse yourself of the negativity others are putting onto you. Ritual baths, taking a ritual bath using certain herbs or crystals in your bath water. And then doing visualization and prayer while you're in the bath water. So you're visualizing all of this light coming into you to cleanse yourself, your aura, your body. And if you don't have access to a bathtub, you can do that standing in the shower. You can just imagine that the water coming from the shower is light, cleaning you on an energetic and a physical level.
Can negative entities be invited?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do witches do that? Like people who do black magic?
I believe so.
Can a real ghost haunt us?
Yes, but it doesn't happen very often. Yes, we can be haunted by the physical manifestation of somebody who's already passed on. Absolutely.
So any witch that does dark magic, like open a portal and send a negative entity towards us?
The amount of energy it would take to achieve something like that, not to mention the amount of skill, you're getting more into ceremonial magic as opposed to witchcraft. I don't believe that most witches are doing that. I think the majority of witches are good natured, loving, peaceful people. They are healers and they are counselors, healers and counselors. What you're talking about is leaning way more towards ceremonial magic, not witchcraft. The ceremonial magicians are the ones in robes standing around chanting with candles and funny hats and trying to open portals and bring things into being. They're the ones who want to practice alchemy and turn, transmutation, turn this thing into that thing. That's all ceremonial magic. Witchcraft is very earth-based and very peaceful.
Ceremonial magic, can you tell me more about it? Because the audience will be very new.
Yeah, I'm not a ceremonial magician. I have friends who perform rituals daily, who work in groups with other people, and they do a lot more of the questions that you're asking me about. Witchcraft is very earth-based, very loving, very focused on healing and providing care and service to other people.
So it's like white magic. It's similar to Reiki.
Yeah, very much so.
What is the importance of intention in witchcraft?
When I said you have to be very, very specific. So if you're thinking one thing, but you're speaking something else into existence, like you're smiling in someone's face, oh yes, you're just so nice, I like you so much. But the whole time in your head, you're thinking, oh, you piece of crap, I don't like you, you're so ugly, you're so this. Your actions but you're also being very outwardly kind to them. None of that is in alignment. None of those things work together. They are at odds with each other. So when you're doing spell work or you are crafting a potion, as you like to call it, and you are thinking of one thing, but your true intention that's going on up here in your higher self is not working, it's not going to work. Your intention is everything. But you also have to weigh what the potential impact would be, because quite often the impact outweighs the intention. Like you can have really good intentions and the impact be devastating. So impact or intention, I would say, is about 95%, and you have to be very clear and very specific.
What are the elements in witchcraft and their meanings?
So fire burns, fire also purifies, and it makes it so new things can grow. Air fuels fire, air carries the messages. And then we have water. Water both nourishes and it destroys, because have you ever seen a flash flood or a rushing river? Water can destroy, but it also nourishes. Life cannot exist without water. And then earth is kind of the container that holds it all together. And then we have ether. Ether is the element, the fifth element that contains them all and allows them all to work harmoniously with one another.
So 5 elements are used.
Yes.
How can witchcraft be used for personal growth?
Shadow work. Starting with yourself, healing your trauma. You can use it to create a better life for yourself. If you need to lose weight, you can make sigils that you put on your body or put on your refrigerator or your pantry, so that you are reminded to eat healthy and choose intentionally healthy items for yourself, or to exercise more. You can use witchcraft to improve your mental health. You can use it to improve your relationships with other people, not in a manipulative way, in an honest way, by being authentic and vulnerable.
What is the familiar in witchcraft?
Well, it's not your pet. It's not your cat. It's not your dog. It's not your bird. It is not a pet. A familiar is a spirit entity that you have a reciprocal relationship with, that will help you to obtain certain results.
What kind of results, according to you? Have you used one?
I don't use familiar spirits, no. You need to know what's happening, say 10,000 miles away. You would use a familiar spirit to sort of spy on the environment and bring you back information.
If magic works, why don't we see verifiable, repeatable evidence of it under scientific conditions?
Magic and science are at odds with each other. Magic relies on belief and faith, and science relies on hard facts and evidence. How can you measure faith?
Because sometimes people doubt, like, if you're doing a certain spell or affirmation, it might not work. Is it their belief system, according to you?
A big part of it is the belief system. It is also how right you are with yourself, like how in alignment you are. Remember, I talked about mind, words, and actions all being in alignment. So a lot of it depends on you. Sometimes my readings, they don't work at all. Sometimes on my readings, I can't read the person at all. It doesn't happen often. It happened with you a little bit today. Does that mean that all of my results are like that? No. Over 90% of my stuff is accurate. So it's, there's variables for everything.
So, can someone be a witch without practicing any spells or rituals? If so,
Yes.
what defines a witch?
Your conscious connection with the fabric of reality, your conscious connection with the universe, your desire to heal others and be a source of wisdom, caring, and guidance within your community.
How do you differentiate between fantasy and real magical practice in witchcraft?
I'm very grounded in reality, so that's a hard one for me to answer. I'm always looking for signs, and I'm always communicating with birds, bugs, trees, plants. To me, that is real. For other people, putting on a robe and a pointy hat is real, and I think it's really up to the individual. I don't really know how to define that. Reality is subjective. Everybody's truth is subjective, and truth depends on the observer, but it also depends on what is being observed. So mess with your head if you think about it too hard and too long.
Is it ethical to do a spell on someone without their consent, even if the intention is good?
I don't believe so, but also, those are my personal ethics. I'm a big mind your own business kind of person, so unless you're coming to me and asking me or inviting me for something, you're not even on my radar. I'm very much minding my own business at all times. So no, I don't think it's ethical. I think more people should mind their own business.
So if someone wants to heal somebody, but you can't take consent from them, so can they apply any spell also, even if the intention is good?
They can, but why do they feel like they have the power to play God?
Because if they are someone that is closer to them, like for example, if it's the case of a mother and a son, or father and son, whatever, father and daughter, and they want to help them get recovered from some kind of illness or health problems. So witchcraft will help or not in that case.
It has the potential, but again, it's none of your business. Unless you were invited into the situation, mind your own business, focus on yourself. That's really one of my guidelines. Mind your own business and focus on yourself.
But in Reiki, they say that you can take consent from the higher self.
False. False. Not in Usui Reiki, and Usui Reiki is what I was taught. In Usui Reiki, we need permission and consent from whoever we are doing Reiki on. Whether it be a client's pet, we need permission and consent. Usui Reiki has very specific rules about not.
Sometimes,
Even-
if someone is in a comatic state and you want to give Reiki to them, you cannot ask them, right? Like, I want to take your permission. So in that case, what would you do?
That's different. That is different. Also, you would ask the family members, because if they're in a coma, there's most likely going to be family members who consulted with you to give them Reiki. So someone else is invoking consent.
And for a country, if you're doing Reiki, so you cannot ask people of the country, right? You will be asking the higher self, the Mother Earth. Because I'm a Reiki grandmaster, so I have been taught many different things.
Right.
I've done all levels of Reiki. So
I believe giving Reiki to the earth is completely different. The earth will absolutely give you consent if you ask. I mean, I don't harvest plants or take from a tree without asking for consent from the tree first. So I'm always asking for consent from whatever I do.
we have been taught that you can, if you are having a good intention, you can even ask the higher self and give Reiki, because Reiki is only for good intention, not for anything bad.
Right.
Because there is different kinds of Reiki or symbols also used. For example, for mending a relationship or breaking away relationship also, it's there. I've seen there are some symbols, especially if you go to the mastership level, you will be learning these symbols. So sometimes it's not consent.
My issue with getting consent from the higher realm or the higher self is that most people, and I know this sounds very judgmental, but what I've encountered is that most people don't actually have that conscious connection with their higher selves. So they think they're getting consent, but really it's selfish, and they are going by what they think is right, because they don't know how to connect with their higher self or with the greater fabric of reality. So I think it's a gray area, very murky.
Because I have a question, like if someone wants to stay away from someone, okay, like get a divorce or something, they should not feel forced to be in that relationship, right?
I agree.
So they can do Reiki to get separated also, because that is, and they don't want to be karmically entangled for the highest good. So I don't think it's wrong in that case, because you should not feel pressured to do something against your will.
Agreed, wholeheartedly.
So sometimes Reiki is also used in that way. Like there is a symbol named Sati symbol. If you want to bind to people or get to people away, that you place two photographs. There is some procedure
Are
in that.
both consenting to the binding? Because if only one party consents to the binding, then it's not.
Yes. And
Okay.
yeah, if someone wants to get away from someone, so in those cases it is used. And if they both wish to reconcile, then there is also another thing. But forcing someone is against the will of the nature also.
Yeah, I don't believe in forcing anyone or anything. That's not what I'm about.
How do you practice divination in witchcraft?
Me personally, I have over 30 different forms of divination that I practice. Osteomancy, like throwing bones. I use cards. I use astrology. I go outside and I look at the clouds. I pay attention to the patterns of the birds. That's called augury. So I'm watching where the birds are flying, how they're interacting with each other, how they're interacting with the environment around them. Water scrying is another one of my favorites. I also really enjoy fire scrying. So I light an intentional fire and then I'm gazing into the fire for messages. I have several different forms that I use.
How do you measure success in magical practice, emotionally, spiritually, or materially?
Emotionally, it's for me, everything is about how I feel. I'm a clairsentient medium, so like I need to feel good in my body. And if I feel good in my body at all times, then I know I'm on the right track and I'm doing well.
How are spells for love, success, and money approached in witchcraft? And what are the ethical considerations around them?
So again, ethics relies on the individual person. Ethics are a personal thing. Not everybody has the same ethics or the same moral understanding. I don't do certain kinds of spell work. I don't even think about certain things because very much back to I'm a mind your own business person. If it's not for me, it's not for me, and I'm not going to go chasing something that is not for me. There's a million different ways you can do spell work. You can craft a tea. You can, using a variety of ingredients. You can cook something. You can light a candle. You can write down your intentions on a piece of paper and just focus your conscious thought onto bringing that into reality. They call that manifesting.
I have a question like, is there a difference between a witch and a wizard?
I have a friend who calls himself a wizard. He's wonderful. He's also a Reiki practitioner. I see wizards as being more into ceremonial magic, and witches are little earth-based fairies. We're walking around talking to the plants, making sure that everybody has what they need and being cared for. We're caretakers. Whereas wizards are more about ceremony and, yeah.
Do witches have to keep their practice secret?
That's a really good question. I think that anything in life, whatever you're doing, it should remain a secret until you've done it. That you shouldn't be going around saying, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Because what happens is people who are jealous of you without you knowing or your understanding are going to be putting negative energy. Oh, look at her. She's bragging about this and she's bragging about that. Keep it to yourself until after it's done. And that includes any spell work or any manifestations that you're working on. I also think that by keeping it secret, it gives it more power to produce because it's only your and intentions that are working.
I have seen many yogis in Himalayas surviving for more than 100 years, 120, 130, someone says 150 also. But it's not recorded in media. Also, I have heard that they can fly. Okay. So, according to this podcast, do witches really fly? If not, what does that story mean that witches can fly?
Okay, the story comes from something called flying ointment, which is made from plants like belladonna and other poisonous plants. I'm trying to think what else is used for flying ointment. I want to say foxglove because it has high levels of atropine in it. So you're creating a potion or a salve out of plants that are hallucinogenic and altering your brain in such a way to make you believe that you are flying or astral projecting. Basically taking mushrooms, the funny kind.
So the physical body can't fly, according to you?
That is not for witches. That is more of a yogi thing. And we're crossing over. We're taking one practice and attributing to something else that it is not. No, witches do not fly on broomsticks. They get high and fly in their minds, but the physical body is not high flying.
How do potions work in witchcraft? And how can beginners learn to make or use them?
We talked about moon water before, crafting moon water, collecting storm water, snow melt, even morning dew. You could go and collect the morning dew that collects on plants in the morning and use that as the base of your potion. You would use it for tea, you would use it for cooking, use it for making coffee. That's a really good beginner way to start is by experimenting with different kinds of water and charging it.
So can dreams be messages from spirit guides or familiars?
Absolutely. But like with everything else, you have to use your discernment and understand, is it dream? Is it just you ate too much cheese before bed? Like what discernment and really practicing discernment over time will help you understand the messages and meanings behind your dreams.
I have a curious question. What is a wand used for in witchcraft?
Conducting energy. Conducting or drawing energy to you. So you're either pushing it away, you're directing it somewhere, or you're drawing the energy to you.
Do you also have a wand?
I don't use a wand. If I need to, I have a body, a physical body. So I use my physical body. I'm not a big tool person. I'm very much a self-contained I use my own body, and I focus on making sure that my body is pure both inside and out.
What are common ethical considerations when casting spells?
Ethics are determined by the practitioner. I have personal ethics that not everybody agrees with my personal ethics. I'm not a do no harm kind of person. Sometimes karma needs to give you a little push in the ass because you were not kind and you deserve it. But for the most part, my ethical considerations are, am I being helpful? Am I doing this for personal gain? Those are things that I want to consider. I don't like to take more than I need ever. I like things to remain equitable. And when I say sometimes people need a kick in the butt, what I mean by that is I have wards that I use. My wards, so if you come toward me with some negative energy and you trip one of my wards, that's the kick in the butt you're getting. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not targeting you and saying, I don't like you. I don't like how you cut me off in traffic. I don't like how you looked at me yesterday. I don't like that thing you said to me online. I have wards that take care of that for me. And my wards are a little spicy.
So, what is your opinion about love magic? Like casting a spell on someone to love you back?
Terrible. I think that it's violating people's free will and you are taking away their autonomy. And at the end of the day, most witches, we are fighting for autonomy of the planet, autonomy of the animals that inhabit the planet, and autonomy of human beings as well. So if you're getting into love magic and you're trying to force people to bend to your will, you are violating their autonomy, and I think that is flat wrong.
Can you tell me more about the Book of Shadows?
A book of shadows is something that you create for yourself. I don't have mine in here. It's in my bedroom. Basically, it's a book where you write down your observations, the ingredients that you use. It's your own personal guidebook, your own personal spell book.
You know if a spell has worked.
I always build in I build something into my spells so that I'm given a sign. So I'm going to use a client as an example. A client asked me for a spell recently, and what I built into it was she lives in an area where there are no owls. And because of the deities we were working with, I wanted her to see an owl. Either she opens a magazine or a book and there's an owl there, or she physically sees one, or she sees a statue. So I always build in some kind of synchronistic item so that when you see that, you know it's working. Because I'm a big believer in cast the spell and forget about it. Put it out of your mind, don't talk about it. Once it's done, it's done. But I always build something in so that I know I have for my own personal verification. She did the working, and within 12 hours, there was an owl.
Can spells backfire?
Yes. Before when I was talking about intention and not having your intentions be perfectly clear, if you are saying one thing but you're thinking another, or your heart wants something completely else, the spell can go haywire and backfire.
Can you undo or reverse a spell?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one area where I would suggest buying a tool, and that would be an uncrossing candle. They usually red on top and black on the bottom. Sometimes they reverse black on top, red on the bottom, but I would use an uncrossing candle. The other way to reverse a spell is to go through all of your steps and repeat them backwards.
So according to you, is spirit work safe for beginners?
Not unless you're right with yourself. If you've done your shadow work and you are in alignment, your thoughts, your words, your actions, if those things are all in alignment, go for it. But if you are bypassing trauma, if you're bypassing other issues in your life, then no, you should not be doing it.
Do certain plants or herbs have magical powers?
All of them.
Like use anything in particular?
I'm a big fan of the coffee bean. Coffee's magical. I have an office full of plants. All of them have their own special correspondence and meanings. I keep cactus and other prickly things by my front doors, so it collects negative energy as it comes in the house. I'm not a big tea drinker. I don't like tea personally. I drink it when I want to achieve certain effects. Hibiscus is something that I like and use a lot. Hibiscus is good, high in vitamin C. It is associated with Kali, who's one of my patrons. I work with Kali almost exclusively. All plants have a magical correspondence.
You told about coffee beans. How do you use it?
You can use ground coffee if you're making a physical spell, you can throw a little pinch of ground coffee in there to speed up the working, to give it more energy or more power. Some people like to create spells in jars or containers, and if you want to speed up your working, I would suggest throwing in some coffee in there. just ground coffee, not brewed.
So can coffee beans be used when it comes to manifesting money?
Yes, absolutely.
How?
Again, you want to add it to your ingredients. If you're trying to manifest money using a bowl or a jar, you would put a pinch of coffee in there. I have a little money bowl in my kitchen. It's just a small bowl made of natural, like the outside of the bowl is natural, that I have certain ingredients in. There's a little basil, there's an open safety pin. The open safety pin is to collect negativity that is sent toward my finances. Rice, some of the rice grains I colored green, so I dyed some of the rice grains green because rice is abundant. And it's also very rich. Like rice didn't used to be something that everybody could afford. It was a very hard to get ingredient. A little bit of cinnamon for abundance, basil, rice. What else is in my bowl? The open safety pin. And throw a pinch of coffee in there once or twice a month just to keep things flowing.
Have you used spells for yourself?
Yes.
Did it work for you?
Most of the time. I like to write myself a check from the universe every now and then for a very specific amount, and I will add that to my bowl, my kitchen bowl, and I do a lot of kitchen magic. I'm like cooking and always the exact amount that I ask for comes, because I'm very careful not to ask for more than I need. I'm not looking for excess. I'm not looking to get rich. I'm looking to maintain comfort levels. So I write myself a check from the universe for a very specific amount, and poof, there it is.
So can you tell me more about kitchen magic? I'm imagining what you must be doing in the kitchen.
I have a very large spice cabinet, and I know what each spice does taste like, what its magical correspondence is, what planetary correspondence is. So when I'm cooking something for myself or my son for dinner, lunch, breakfast, whatever, for friends and family, I'm using very specific herbs, not just to make it taste good, but to bring about a certain effect. Recently, I made scones. Do you know what a scone is, right? They're like little biscuits. But I put lavender in them to help promote peace, blueberries for abundance, and a little bit of lemon for purity and clarity, and I gave them all to my neighbors. I'm not doing witchcraft against their will. I'm promoting peace and community and harmony amongst my neighbors.
So anything given with a good intention is just.
Yep. I think the media really likes to portray witches in a very bad light, and there's a lot of misconceptions floating around about what it means to be a witch and what witchcraft is. And that's mostly in large part due to popular media as well as social media.
They have made many horror movies also portraying them in the wrong light.
Yep.
How can one protect oneself from negative energy?
By creating wards. Wards can be physical or they can just be astral, but I believe wards work best when you're using both. And through prayer and through visualization, a lot of visualization. One thing I like to tell people is that your aura is egg-shaped. And when you get up in the morning, when you're starting to wake up and brushing your teeth and taking a shower and doing all those things, check your egg-shaped bubble. Zip it up, make sure it's the color that you want, that you're feeling that day. You can choose what your egg-shaped bubble color is for the day. So if you are a day when you want to exude more abundance, you want to exude more prosperity, make your bubble green. If it's a day where you need more grounding, make your bubble brown. So I like using color and visualizations to protect.
Should we be careful of who we receive food from?
Ooh, that's a big one for me. That is a big one. I will not eat in anybody's house. I am weird about ordering food from restaurants. I'm weird about accepting gifts of food from people because, okay, so fast food is a great example. Where I live, we have a ton of fast food. It's actually, I think it's awful. But I notice energetically when I consume fast food, I'm absorbing the person who prepared it. They're overworked, they're underpaid, they're miserable, they hate their job, and I'm taking all of that into my body. No, thank you. I think we should absolutely be careful about who and what we are taking food from and how we prepare it. I think it's a huge part of maintaining spiritual hygiene, both internally and externally.
So if your body gets pain, some kind of pain when you receive food from someone, so do you think their aura might not be good?
I agree. Yeah, I don't think that not everybody you should not take food from anybody. I'm the same way about gifts too. people try to give me a gift and I will instantly know, no, I should not take that because that gift is coming with strings or it was not given with a pure heart. So if you're giving somebody food or a gift and you have negative intentions behind it or about them, back to your thoughts and your words not being alignment, like you're smiling in your face while thinking how much you hate somebody. Oh, here, I made you this cupcake. Don't take the cupcake.
So how can we recognize that somebody's having evil intention towards us?
It boils down to discernment and how strong your connection is with the world around you, the fabric of reality, fabric of the universe.
So your gut feeling is true.
9 times out of 10, your gut feeling is going to be true. If somebody goes to hand you something and it makes you feel a certain way in your stomach, if your nose itches or burns, for me, I get a lot of activations on my nose. So if somebody goes to hand me something and it smells weird or they smell weird, I'm like, no, thank you. And I'm polite about it. I'm not in their face and rude and like, oh, you just want to hurt me. I just smile and say, no, thank you. And if they ask, I explain that I don't accept food from strangers or I don't accept these kinds of gifts. Or this would be wasted on me because it's not to my preference, but thank you for thinking of me. So there's a way to handle it in a polite and kind way.
So if they touch food with bare hands while preparing the food, so does it get affected more? Like energetic entanglement happens more if they touch it with bare hands.
Yes, absolutely, it does.
Like their energy might be getting transferred to the food.
But it's going to happen even if they're wearing gloves. And I know this from eating fast food. It happens no matter what they do. Because here we have a lot of restrictions and limitations about food preparation that doesn't exist in other parts of the world. And I can tell you that it doesn't really make a difference if you're wearing gloves or not. The energy transfer is still there.
Where can the audience reach you and find out more about your work?
I have a small platform on Facebook, Zia Spiritual Services. My website is currently down, but I'm hoping to have it back up by this summer. I'm also on Blue Sky and Instagram, same name, Zia Spiritual Services.
Thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you.